Hello everybody. Today we're going to be going over the Comfy tool inside of PrOwl and how to use it in the PrOwl stack. So here I actually am just inside of the PrOwl repository, and I have this example that I put together called image.py. Now there's a couple of things that you have to set up before you can run this script. First thing is that we need to have Comfy UI running on our local host. And we also need to have the environment variable set to point to that port. And the other thing is that we need to set up, if we want to save the Comfy file, so there's two ways to go about this, okay? The first one is we can either save the file, which is the default, which is why you have to set save to false if you want it to stream the file back to you. So it would return the data inside of the variable data, which comes back. So if we just run it like this, and I'm not going to get into the workflow just yet, we'll handle that later, just after this. So here we go. This is how I currently have it set up. What this is going to do is it's going to make a scene. We have this wonderful little prompt here under prompts image, which you can see that inside of our stack, we're pointing to this. So, right. Let's then go and take a look at the scene script just to see how, just to see what it's how this is working. So subject, physical aspects, write a brief paragraph. Here, let me just Alt-Z this. App. Okay. Now then, you can see that we go through multiple steps here. We have it set up aspects, a scene. Oh, it sets up the subject, right. So first it goes, we're making an image, set up a subject, it sets up a mood, then it sets up physical aspects, then it sets up a scene. Physical aspects of the subject, physical aspects of the scene. So this script is designed so that at the very end, we generate a prompt called scene prompt, okay? And then we have, over here, we have Comfy, and this is just a one-off script. I've separated it out. I could quite easily just take this and put it back over here at the end of the script, run the Comfy tool, and we'll get that information back that we need. But specifically what I wanted to do here is I want to have just one call to Comfy being one script, so that I can do this. I can go scene and then Comfy. But then if I set up something else that's like another flow for a scene script, to make a prompt for a specific scene here, I could do that. Now, obviously, this is not the best naming that I've done here because it's just called Comfy. I should probably call this like Comfy_scene or something, because it's the one that's going to be grabbing from the scene. And if I wanted to do like a subject, just a subject, or like a portrait or something like that, then I could make up a character portrait script that all it does is go in and says, okay, instead of doing a scene, I'm just setting up, I'm focusing on like a character and their physical aspects of their face to create a portrait, and I would let it know that that's what we're doing here. And at the very end, I would generate, like, for instance, portrait prompt. And then I would have a script over here called Comfy_portrait, and that would use portrait prompt instead of scene. But for now, I only really have one example, so I'm not going to try to like complicate things for this. Just leave them how it is. Okay. So let's do one quick run, and let's also print out the R4 dot var Comfy. This is a very important thing. So you'll notice here in Comfy PrOwl, I'm using the Comfy tool. And anytime you use a tool, remember that variables can also hold, so this is why I'm grabbing a variable. Variables can also hold, they hold a value, They hold list if it's a list. They hold data if there's data to bring back, which in this case in the company in the comfy tool there is. So we named, like, this tool is named comfy, and you can find it here within the tools folder. Okay, has a little util to like do the API calls and then do that, right? You'll also notice here that we've got a workflows folder, which includes the default.json because it's a template. And this is actually part, okay, so before we run, I guess I'm just gonna go over the rest of this setup. So this is actually a JSON file, and I've just altered it slightly to be a template, to just be a string template for PHP, or sorry, fuck PHP, geez, a Python string template. And what that does is it just replaces all of these. Here's the prompt, okay? The input's the prompt. And this is just, all I did was I went into Comfy, I created I used just the simple default workflow, that's why this is called default. And I'm using a set model in here that I was using for fantasy stuff, so here's my checkpoint. And all I did was I went into Comfy, I grabbed the JSON from the saved version of my workflow, and I just took the top part because there's a whole bottom part. This is part of a larger object, so the bottom part is like for the actual nodes, the visual nodes themselves, and how your layout's set up. And this one is actually just all in and of itself, roughly like the actual inclusion, the functionality of everything. I forget what it's actually called inside the other object, but it's the top part. Okay, so we also have SDXL workflow here, and here we're using Segmine Vega, and we're doing roughly the same thing. We're just giving it the prompts. This is a input, a text input, click text encode input, and all that other stuff. So if you understand Comfy, then you can pretty much understand what's going on here. Excuse me for not having the text colored, makes it harder to read. It's because I had to use a slightly different file format than JSON, because, well, it would show up with all red with errors, and I don't like those colors. So anyway, all right, let's go back to it. So in order to access the data that's coming off of Comfy, we can just directly access the data. And this is going to be a dict. So, all right, let's run it. Python examples image.py, okay? And let me just pull this. So, okay, so here's our thing. We do set the width background and height background. You might have noticed that over there. So, all right, let's pull this up a little bit. And go. Oh, right. This is all inside of a package now. So I got to do PrOwl examples image.py. There we go. A group of elephants having a mud bath in a river during sunset. Sounds interesting. A herd of 5, all of them large and gray with long trunks and ears. So this is kind of like, this is conditioning, right? You make the script, you make the completion, sort of the prompt itself get filled out by the LLM, and it's making its own decisions on the scene. Notice I don't have an input block here. Okay. All right. Oh, I didn't save, so it didn't output the chunk of base64 encoded data for the image. But luckily, I have my image viewer over here already open to the image. In Comfy, you need you'll have noticed that in the, well, if you go back and look, if you look at the JSON file, you'll see that there's PrOwl, this thing here. So, okay, what happens if we do SDXL? And let's change this to 1024 by 768. And we're obviously going to get a completely different scene here because all of this is just sort of randomized out. If you look at the scene PrOwl, the very first part of it, when it's choosing a subject, it's using a temperature of 0.6. So that means that it's going to be pretty stochastic in how it brings back the result. If I were to just make this temperature 0, and that's the thing here, is that if the subject temperature was 0, since this is the very first variable, and we don't have anything like an input or whatever that comes before this, if it was 0, then the entire subject would only be conditioned on everything that shows up here, which means that it would always be the same, and it would be 100% based off of like just some subject that it would choose from this seed in this run. Okay, let's run this again using SDXL. In SDXL, you have to have a 1020, 1024 format, and let's do by 640 to just keep with that. And so I'm pointing to SDXL here. Great. All right, let's save it this time before we run. And I'm gonna not output the data actually, because that's just a whole bunch of random text. You don't need to see that, but this is how you get the data out of it. All right, so let's run it again. And yeah, so since I have Comfy running on my local machine, then it's all good. Serene, beautiful sunset. It really does like to go for lakes and mountains with geese a lot, and it really likes sunset a lot. It seems that there's a bias towards this sort of a thing. Okay, this is the Comfy utility showing this output, and the Comfy utility shows what's in the queue. Oh, it did show our data. Okay, so all right, this is probably, yeah, okay, it took up the entire, oh, it didn't, sweet, okay. And you can see there that images, right, obviously, if you have 4 images in your flow, in your workflow for Comfy, automatically built in, like, right, I just have batch size equal to 1. So I'm just getting 1 image here back. And this is the base64 encoded image. Now, we can go through how to actually save this, which is coming up next. And obviously the usage or the time that it took. So this can be attached. Well, this time is automatically included in your usage. The elapsed time that it took. So let's just go over here and let's see what SDXL gave us. Oh, beautiful. Nice. I don't see the geese. I don't see the geese at all. But we got sunset, we got like mountains, we got a lake. There's like trees and snow. Was that part of the prompt? Let's look at the prompt that it actually made. Okay. What's the last? Okay, there's the generating stuff. Here's the, okay, scene prompt. Sometimes, I mean, obviously I have to work on my, my prompt. So a serene sunset over mountains, lake in the foreground, family of geese swimming, warm orange glow, gentle ripples, tall majestic mountains, snow-capped peaks. So there's the snow part. Pinks. I'm just gonna put this up here while we're looking at this. Pinks, oranges, purples, wispy clouds, pinks, oranges, purples, wispy. Tranquil scene, yeah, it's tranquil. Gentle sounds of nature, that obviously, there's no sounds in an image prompt. Peaceful atmosphere bathed in warm golden light, long gentle shadows, calm water, vibrant colors, gentle lapping of water, distant calls of birds. Okay, so obviously gentle sound of nature and distant calls of birds, those are audio things. But you could imagine that if you had a text to audio and we just slapped that into a tool, we could grab an audio there. And then if you had like just a very simple, comfy workflow where you were doing animation, you know, you could animate this scene from a very simple perspective, and then like using SD video or whatever, and then like you could have a whole audio prompt part that takes some of these things that it's actually explaining above, right? Because at first off, a beautiful blah blah blah, family of geese. And you can see that it gives like aspects, the description, the medium. Usually it chooses default. This is just because I think I was trying to get it to work with. I think with default medium or whatever, then it just like, what it does, it tries to ignore. Where did I have that? So this is in scene medium. So medium. Choose the artistic medium this image is represented in, for example, pencil drawing or photo. Say default to let the image generator model choose. So in actuality, like this happens right before the prompt. And if it says default, then that doesn't affect this. But actually, a lot of the times it just chooses default. Let's run another one. But this time, we're going to go over here and we're going to set up a workflow. So, right, let me just separate this out. Oh, wait, no. We want the output path. So we want to save this time. So what I'm doing is I'm making it so that save is not set to false. Thus, it will give us the information. Oh, it will save it. So I'm going to save to home, Osiris, pictures, SD. And you have to have the final slash there. And thus, we should now be able to see this show up, like have it save instead of showing up all this data. So running another one. Okay, there's our that. This is like our folder that we're looking at. Okay, it's getting to the medium photo. Okay, cool. Right, executing. And so obviously I do it these two different ways so that one, if you're running PrOwl on your server and you want to just save the image in a specific spot, oh, there we go. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. Man, good job, SDXL. All right. I did notice though that, well, okay, I mean, obviously I'm going a lot towards these colors and stuff, but that's actually because, so yeah, this also shows you where it saved it and the length. So what I was saying before is just, yeah, if you're running it on a server and you need to actually save your image on that server, then there you go, you have that. But if you're running it on like let's say you on your server you had some sort of a storage setup, but then let's say you're running it off of, like you're running PrOwl as a service and you're grabbing, you're using the PrOwl client in like Next.js or something, and then you wanted to just get back the image data and immediately put that into your interface without having it be a hosted image. And then a person can do whatever they want with that. So those are the two options. Like if you don't save, it outputs the data directly to the data here under images. So data, images, and then like if I wanted that first image, since we're only using one image in this workflow for SDXL and for default, then bam, we've got that. This would actually just now output that data. And if I wanted to use like pill and blah, 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 I could just make it directly output, but whatever. That's beside the point. So yeah, that's how to use the Comfy tool, and you can really just take it and stick it wherever you want. You don't have to include it. So there's a default workflow if you don't include this. Also, if you're using, if you're using the PrOwl package, if you've installed it via pip, then the problem is that you're going to have your own workflow folder, because what I currently have is I have it like set up here. So I might just include like the workflow inside of my prompts, my prompt library repository, and that way you can just sort of point. I think I'm going to do something like that for the collab. And the problem is that I can't really run. I could run like Comfy, but I couldn't really run VLLM and Comfy on just one collab unless I had access to an A100. So for now, I'm showing everybody on my local setup. And right now I'm not running VLLM off of a 3060 by far. I'm just running it on a server, on a company server. Cool. All right. Catch you later.